band at Sakura-Con in Seattle. So we started interacting. By email, we started corresponding. And Motsu, one of their main guys who does a lot of the rapping in their songs and produces and stuff, he wrote me an email and he's like, I heard you write music. I hear you're a songwriter and a singer and I want to hear some of your songs. So I sent him a couple of songs from a couple of my CDs. Well, the good word is, he loved them and he played them for their producer, and they want to record them in Japanese. So, you haven't quite lived until you've heard one of your songs sung in Japanese. It's very interesting. How many of you know the song "Nothing I Won't Give"? You got to hear it too. I promise you, there ain't nothing I don't give. And then they go into Tokushina, they go into the Japanese, and it's awesome. So there are two songs of mine that they are working on. So then they're like, hey, you need to come over and hang out with us. And I'm like, I know, right? So then I started thinking, you know what? I've met a lot of people from Japan over the years at conventions. I should try to hook up with these people and see them do what they do there. So I called Square Enix, people that I had met at Comic-Con in San Diego, and I called this guy named Kanji Toshiro, and I said, Kanji, I'm going to be going to Japan, and I've never been, but I would love to do two things. Dream things. One, sit in on an anime recording session. Because they don't do it anything like we do it. I don't know if you know that or not. We can talk about that if you'd like. But in fact, I'm going to prepare a video of all the stuff I shot and make my trip to Tokyo and all the fun stuff and stuff that you guys, nobody's ever seen. How many of you have ever watched a Japanese anime recording session? Exactly, not one hand. So I shot video in the session. So I'm sitting there, I go to this session, it's for this show called Bamboo Blade. It just started, they're on the third or fourth episode airing on television. And I'm sitting there, and there's this girl from Square Enix who's translating for me. And we're in this very small room. The control room was probably smaller than the stage, and they had 20 guys in there, and they're all smoking. The director and his assistant, the sound director and his assistant, 2 engineers, 2 animators, a music guy. All these people jammed into this room, right? And then there's a big glass window, and on the other side are 15 voice actors. And they have 5 microphones set up on stands, and then 2 plasma screens on the wall. And these voice actors, in a very choreographed manner, step up, and they do the lines, and they step away, and people are just, it looks like a dance, you know what I'm saying? It's very choreographed, and all these people are moving around and getting in front of the microphones, and they record all of them at the same time, because the animation isn't done. Whoa. What they're looking at on the screen is literally a still picture. Like storyboard, yeah, way.
Yeah, way.
You guys know what storyboards are, right? You've seen storyboards to movies? That's what they are. They're storyboards marking where certain shots are going to be and how the show's going to flow, but they've not finished animation yet. So the actors don't have to match the lip flaps. Lucky dogs. So I'm sitting there, and I'm watching, and the Square Enix girls sit beside me with the script, and I'm looking at the script, and it makes no sense whatsoever. It's all in Japanese, of course, and backwards, and all different directions. I can't even begin to understand what it is. But I'm looking at it, and as they're speaking, of course, we can hear the actors, and she's doing this with her finger and showing me what they're doing. And then she points out that on the screen, these little symbols pop up, and when the symbol pops up, that tells the actor their line's about to go. So they get in front, they see the little symbol, and then they go. And it's amazing, amazing process. But I'm sitting there, and this girl leans over and she says, you see a girl in green sweater? At green sweater? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, she play Winry in Fullmetal. I'm like, sweet! so I'm geeking out now, right? I don't even know why. Just because I love Caitlin and I love Winry, and that's Winry in Japanese. And so they take a break. They do 15-minute segment, like the first half of the episode before the break, and then they do the next one. So they did the 15-minute segment, and then they took a break. And then they're like, "You come meet cast." I'm like, "Yeah." So we go into the studio, and I walk in, and they're looking at me like, "Who are you?" Right? And the Square Enix guy just rips off all this Japanese, and I hear him say, "Edo, Hagane," whatever the full word is, the full name is, and they all go, "Oh," and they all start clapping, and then the girl that played Winry goes, and I go, "You, come here." And she comes running over, and I gave her a hug. We took all these pictures. And as I'm hugging her, this other Japanese girl goes, "Rosa, Rosa." She played Rose. And so we just had the best time.